Kia ora koutou. We are back again after possibly one of the busiest weeks in our lives so far. So, yeah, it's been the most amazing week, hasn't it? So Monday, we kicked off with Di Morris's launch of the writing desk up at Woodford House in the library. And that was a beautiful environment. Wonderful photographer, young Grace, who's took some amazing photos. She's a student there at Woodford House, one of Di's students. And just a lovely atmosphere, lovely environment. And
you could feel the love in the room for Di. It was wonderful. And it's her process of how she actually did it was amazing. There was so much work that's gone into it, the rough sketches and planning it all out. And she did it as part of her, was it a PhD or Masters? Masters. So it's just an amazing book. So check it out, The Writing Desk.
Yeah, and what I really liked about that launch as well, it was in a big private environment, but it was open to the public. So, and we told people about it. So there was a lovely crowd there, and it was of lots of different people that were interested in the book and the author, students, teachers. It was just a really nice environment to be in, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was great.
That was great. Congratulations, Di.
Yeah, well done, Di. And then nothing much happened Tuesday, I don't think. Oh, no, that's right. You did an interview with Mark and Suzak, didn't you?
Yeah, which wasn't without its stresses. So the way that we do it, we go live on Facebook, but Gareth sort of ties it in with a Zoom meeting. So, everyone has to be in the Zoom room at a couple of minutes to the hour that we're going to go live, and then Gareth makes us go live, and we're sitting there going, this is exciting. We're waiting for Marcus Suzak to turn up in the Zoom room. There's no Marcus. A couple of minutes. There's some frantic emails with his publicist, who's very lovely. He should be there. And eventually, after about sort of 10 minutes or so, I think he was maybe like 17 minutes late, not that I was counting. But it turned out he's on tour. So he's like hopping between planes and hotel rooms, and he was just having tech problems and trying to download Zoom frantically onto his phone to see if it would work. But anyway, after all that, we got him. Yeah. And we had just the most fantastic half an hour chat. And I think the thing that stands out for me with authors like Marcus Suzak, who wrote The Book Thief and Bridge of Clay, and now Three Wild Dogs and the Truth, is that he's so generous. Yeah. So generous with his time to hang out for half an hour when he's so busy with two tiny booksellers. Well, tiny bookshops. And
I'm not that tiny.
No, we're not. Neither of us are tiny these days. Just that generosity. Yeah. And then just to be so energetic while he's in the middle of doing all of the things. Yeah. So that was just really special.
And he was such a nice chap as well, wasn't he?
What a cool person.
Wonderful. And also, because he was late, he said, if you never need anything, I owe you a favour. So, if Auckland Writers Festival invite him or something like that, we'll be on the phone and said, Marcus, you owe us a favour. Come down to Wardini Books.
Come down to Wardini Books.
How awesome would that be? Probably unlikely, but it would be awesome. But you've got to have these dreams, haven't you?
Well, who thought we'd get a Facebook Live with him?
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't ask, you don't get, do you?
You don't, no. So that was brilliant. And what a lovely chap. So read that book. What was it called? Three
Wild Dogs and the Truth.
Wild Dogs and the Truth.
Yeah, we're doing it for book club. So if you read it and you have any feedback for us, let us know.
I wanted to say Three Wise Dogs, but I knew it wasn't wise. I don't. Three Wise Men because we're coming to Christmas.
They might be wise, but mostly they're wild.
But mostly they were wild. Yes. Yeah. Anyway, so that was that. And then what happened? Wednesday was quiet. Oh no, it wasn't. It was our annual Battle of the Book Clubs quiz.
Which wasn't without its stresses.
And it's brilliant, but it is a lot of stress running around and trying to make sure everything works. And then we had a surprise extra team turn up because we'd not written them down or something. Yeah. And so it was quite. It was brilliant. Everyone had a wonderful time, but it was slightly chaotic, and we raised
nearly £6,000.
£6,000 for the Acorn Project, which is for children going through a cancer journey. So it was a wonderful evening, and we feel like we did some good. So that's good. Yeah.
So just to explain, if you don't know what that is, it's a big function centre room, and we managed to cram about 250 people in there this time, who are all members of book clubs, or they've made up a book club team just for the night. And we have rounds of questions, all book related questions, which is huge. A book's been written on everything in the entire universe. So our son Max and I sat down and set the questions this year. We won't be doing anagrams again.
Yes, that was not the popular
round. Feedback was a little bit angry about the anagrams. So we won't be doing that again. But even that was fun. It was funny.
Yeah.
And one of the funniest things was there were a few authors in the room, and one of the anagrams was Or Kiwi Brown by Christina Sanders. Christina Sanders did not get it.
No.
And
they had Mary Ann Scott at her table, another author. She was going, "Oh, it's got a kiwi. It's got a brown kiwi in it," and then we've got an O. And
that's rather marvellous. And Catherine Robertson, our Phoebe, did a beautiful picture round. We should flash up one of those actually.
Yeah, I will.
You know, and there's this sort of vortex and a gem in the middle, and Pearl in a Whirl by Catherine Robertson, and I watched her try and figure out what this was, and it was her book, and she was like, "Oh!" And when she pinged what it was, she just felt so daft. It was great.
Yeah, so it was a really good evening, and everyone had a lovely time, and we raised a lot of money for kids with cancer, so that was a good thing.
That's a very good thing. Yeah, and then on Thursday,
Phil and I went.
Phil and I went out. This is like a highlight of the year for me. Phil and Amy normally comes too, but she couldn't this time, and it's the Hawke's Bay Slam Championships. So slam poetry, yeah. And there were 12 slam competitors, and we don't do the judging, we do the scoring. So they do that sort of Olympic hold up the things, and you get like a 7.0 or a 6.5 or a perfect 10. And then we do the scoring. Phil and I did the scoring, and it's stressful because you have a little bell, and if they go over the 3 minutes of poetry, you have to ring the little bell. We did not have to ring the bell.
No, that's good.
Yeah, so that was amazing. And the new Hawke's Bay Slam champion is Matt Marsh, and he is very good, and he'll be off to the national champs. I don't know where they are, I can't remember. And then there's a Spirit of the Slam for someone who embodies the spirit of the event, and that was a really cool poet called Tama, no relation to the Tama in our Bookshop Detectives book, but he was like 13th on the list, and he had to hop in right in the last minute, and he was up first name out of the hat, and he's a beautiful poet, and he just came at it with such grace. So it was lovely to be able to award him the Spirit of the Slam. So that was a great night. It's always a great night. So come to Common Poets. Look on the Common Poets Facebook page for when the next meeting is. And
then Friday, the Hawke's Bay Readers and Writers Festival started, which you're on the chair of. And I'm not on the chair of, but I still did a lot of work for it.
You did a heap amount
on the board,
of...
not on the chair. On the chair.
Heaps much work of... Well, you carried a lot of boxes and did a lot of logistics.
And did the sound.
And did the... He was sound guy. My first job on the Friday was to clean the car, because you've met Stevie, right? He likes to jump in swamps and go on beaches, and he's quite a filth wizard. So our car stinks, and it's usually full of sand. And I was picking up Monty Suter first. So it was a frantic clean out of the car, and then picked up Monty. Then I went back and picked up Sam Lowe and Stacey Gregg, and didn't kill anybody in the car, so that was a bonus. Yeah. And then we sort of rampaged towards the evening, and we started off with Charity Norman and Claire Bayliss talking. It was called Into the Dark, and people got darkness, because when you're talking about conspiracy theories and sexual assault cases weaved in through fiction, then things are going to go there. But it was an amazing session.
It was a brilliant session, really, really well chaired. It was a good talk. Yeah.
And then after that, it was Monty Suter, T. Hemmer Baker, and chaired by Stacey Gregg, which was a fantastic session.
Yeah. That was a really good session. Yeah.
Yeah, just about different aspects of writing Indigenous stories, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very good. So that was the Friday night, and then probably the best session, I think, was first thing Saturday morning, wasn't it? I like to think. What was that
session? It was so much fun. The Bookshop Detectives.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Sure. With Catherine Robertson.
Yeah, yes. Catherine Robertson chaired us, and it was delightful, wasn't it? It was a good, jolly crowd. Yeah. And we managed to rip the piss out of each other enough that made everybody laugh. So that was ideal for us. That was the goal.
Yep.
Oh, and then a foodie one, and I haven't had breakfast, I'm starving. So it was Sam Lowe and Asha Ishmael Singer talking about food. And I bought Sam's book, and there's a prawn sesame toast recipe in there that's really nostalgic for us, because we used to eat a lot of that kind of thing when we were youngsters.
I don't know, we don't seem to see it. It used to be on our local Chinese takeaway menu, didn't it? But we don't see it so much over here.
We maybe need to seek it out a little bit more. It's
maybe.
mostly Thai restaurants that we've been using recently. But anyway, I'm going to have a go at making that. I'll let you know how that goes. And then causes of death. This was so much fun. Not sure that's the word. Kinrick Temple Camp, forensic pathologist, and Scott Bainbridge, journalist and investigative journalist, and Charity Norman chaired that one. And so there were sort of, you could things about arsenic in your hair. If you've been poisoned with arsenic, it will show you the sort of timeline of the arsenic poisoning, and then something about maggots, lots of maggots, and like how pathologists can make it like a maggot smoothie and see, when things happened because the maggots have eaten the person. Anyway, so that was just, everyone was just like totally, whoa. If you're into that kind of stuff, it was the perfect session.
Is maggot smoothie in Sam Lowe's book as well?
No.
No, okay.
No, not at all. And then later on that afternoon, personal histories with Carl Mewburn and Sage England, and that was fascinating as well.
Yeah, that was really good.
Just the research that goes into writing historical fiction, chaired by Christina Sanders, that one. And the beauty of the writing too.
Yes, they read some sections out, and it was really nice. So it was really good writing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Ageless Magic was our first writing for children session. Yeah. So I'm getting mixed up with who's in what, so we're just going to squint at our Rachel King.
Shelley Burnfield, Claire Mabey, chaired by Catherine Robertson.
And that was lovely. They had a real good vibe on that stage, didn't they? So The Grimmelings is Rachel's book, and Brave Kahu and the Porangi Magpie is Shelley's book, and then Claire's book is The Raven's Eye Runaways. And it was just creating those incredible environments in which imagination can thrive, but they also talked a lot about their love of not only writing for children but reading children's books. And the big thing that I took away from that was that the people in the crowd, who were mostly adults, felt that they had been given permission to read children's books again, because of course you can read whatever you like, but I think sometimes grown-ups feel a bit odd about that.
It's strange really, because when Harry Potter came out, suddenly all adults were had permission to read children's books again, but then that sort of petered out again, but I've written a few children's books, YA books, and I love the genre. I think it's brilliant, and that was one of my favourite sessions. I think it was a really good session, and the point that came across is it's not easy to write a children's book. In fact, it's way harder to write a children's book than to write for grown-ups, because you have to get the pacing right. You can't meander. You have to keep their attention. You have to think about your word selection, right? With an adult book, you just write what you want, sort of thing. So I really enjoyed that session, and I think there is a general perception that kids authors are looked down upon, whereas really it's kids authors that set people up to be readers for life.
Absolutely.
So I think it's so important, and I really enjoyed that session. It was great.
They're incredible writers, all three of them.
Yeah.
So that was Saturday, and then we had a little drink with the authors, which was very
that was
lovely.
Nice. We had a good chat with Nikki Pellegrino, so that was nice.
Oh, always lovely. Yeah. And then Sunday we were straight back into it again with Gavin Bishop. So it was the Gavin Bishop story, and our Adele, who works with us in our Napier shop, who's also a children's author, Adele Broadbent, she interviewed Gavin, and it was almost like she has now died and gone to heaven. Her life is complete because she was on a stage with Gavin Bishop. And one of my favourite parts was where Gavin bought one of Adele's books and she signed it for him. She was just like...
She was just beside herself.
Yeah. But what a story. And I think that was just like the most incredible, here I am and I'm a storyteller. Because Gavin can tell you about his life and his journey, and going back and finding he's written this amazing book about the New Zealand Wars called Patu, and he goes way back, and then we come up to how that's affected things in the present day, but it's done through his whakapapa, his family history, and finding out what happened. Yeah. I was absolutely fascinated, the process, and then also the artistry, his artwork. So that was an incredible session. And then more kids' books. Brilliant. And what a... as a festival programmer, so Catherine Robertson and I programmed this festival, just to see people on a stage together. So it was Stacey Gregg and Jane Arthur, and really different personalities who just complemented each other. So Stacey's book, 9 Girls, is about going back to Naruwahia from, I've been living the high life in Remuera, my circumstances have changed, for the character Little Titch in the book. And just sort of going on that journey of self-discovery. And Jane's in a far quieter way. So her book is for the quiet people. And there was one little girl that came along and she met her heroes and she made some new ones in those authors. And there's great power to be had in that, isn't there?
That was a fantastic session as well. I really enjoyed it. And I think both their books are probably quite autobiographical in some ways. And I think, that came across, and brilliant. Just a fantastic session to listen to them talk about their books and why they wrote them and what it meant to them. And it was just a superb session.
And Claire Mabey chaired that one, and, and she's a children's author, but she's also a journalist. And I think she just brought that. Catherine said this to me, so she approached that with that curiosity of I want to know this and I want to know how you do that. And so that was just fabulous.
I think she was a really good chair. In fact, all the chairs were fantastic in my opinion. For all the I didn't see all of the sessions, but for the ones I saw, I think the chairs all did a brilliant job. Yeah, because they kept the questions on topic, and they made it about the authors rather than themselves. And I think that's
hard to do.
It is hard to do, particularly when you're an author as well. You want to insert yourself in, but it's not about you; it's about them. And I think all the chairs did a fantastic job.
Much about it's just prodding and shutting up and letting people get on with it. Isn't
Absolutely.
It?
Yeah.
And then probably the most emotive and affecting of the sessions was Holy Well, and that was Glenn Cahoon, the poet and GP, and Hilda Nathan, who's written that beautiful journal, Whakawhetai Journal, Gratitude Journal, and who chaired that? Oh gosh, can see.
It was T. Hemmer.
T. Hemmer Baker, beautiful T. Hemmer Baker chaired that one, and they made the point of like, well, we are 3 Tane on the stage, and they were talking about adverse childhood events and what you can do when you are angry and how you can cope with all these things. And it was a very powerful session. And T. Hemmer made the point, well, this is where the problems quite often come from the men. So how can we embrace and help these men to take a step back, and that's the core of everything, to break those cycles of unwellness that affect families. There was so much in that session I can't even begin to tell you. So check out those authors, because that was just incredible. And then we flip on to something completely different.
Yes,
women's fiction, which is not to be underestimated. Yeah, and we talked about so that was Nikki Pellegrino and Catherine Robertson and Danielle Hawkins, chaired beautifully by Kate O'Keefe. And that was like, here we are, don't underestimate this. It's not fluff, it's not chick lit. It's, incredible things happen in these books, but they're read mostly by women. Yeah.
I was laughing. I'm not going to get this quite right, but I think Nikki Pellegrino said, well, she said either I'm 60 or nearly 60 this year or something, and so I can't really call it chick lit. And in an instant, Catherine Robertson goes, well, you could call it chocolate.
Yeah, it was funnier than that. It was more of a...
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I totally mangled that, but it was really, really funny.
Yeah. She was like, I'm an old bird or something.
Yeah.
That was Catherine quipping chocolate. Yeah, it was fantastic, and it was so much fun. And then that led beautifully into the grand finale of Mary Ann Scott's book launch. So we launched The Mess of Our Lives yesterday, which is a young adult novel dealing very sensitively, very well with the tricky issue of hoarding. So yeah, it was and that was lovely. There was so much love in the room there, wasn't there? It was great.
You're about to review that on RNZ in about 20 minutes.
In a minute now. Yes. That's where I'll be hopping over. And so we came home, we watched TV and dribbled after that.
I ate a lot of ice cream and chocolate.
Oh, it was great. And so we were up bright and early this morning because we've gone and set up a little bookstall at Lucknow School in Havelock North. We do this with a couple of schools every year, and people come in and buy books, and we record what's been sold, and then we donate a good chunk of money back to the school so they can get more books
for their library.
For their library. Good. So that's a nice thing to do. So we hung out with some little kids this morning. It's good.
And we're doing Milo and Magic at the Lucknow School book sort of session tomorrow night, and I'm doing a magic show at Parkwell School on Wednesday. Thursday's mostly a day off. And then you're off to Yarns in Barnes at the weekend, and I'm off to Armageddon in Auckland to go and be a geek and sell my books and dress up in steampunk gear.
Yeah, so we'll report back next week. Yeah. We didn't even mention that we've been out to Moana School. That was a fun day.
Oh, yes, that was a fun day. So we did to celebrate their new library. You read some lovely picture books. So that was Wednesday, yeah. And I did a little bit of magic, which the kids really enjoyed. I think.
And they didn't know we were coming, so they were just chuffed to bits, weren't they? What a nice way to spend the morning. Yeah. Cool. So anyway,
we've been quite busy. Yeah. Since we look like this. Oh.
We're only in our 20s. Yeah. You know? We're just knackered.
And it's no quieter this week, but we will probably be... I'm away for the weekend at Armageddon, so it'll probably be a Tuesday or a Wednesday, but we will get something out about Yarns in Barnes and what we've been doing next week. So we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Have a good week. Thanks for listening to all our ramblings.
Yes. Marty well.
Mate well.